Hello, good evening. I wrote an article or a blog regarding my observation from the Charlie Kirk shooting and also the Ukrainian refugee incident. And I'm going to talk through that blog today. I have it pulled up over here, so you are going to see me look over there a lot. And, to reference the information, obviously. So I wanted to mention before I get started that for me, I believe that this is a very important discussion because of just the basic facts of so we don't get all these stories bouncing around all over the place. The day of the shooting, I knew this was going to happen. I knew stories are going to blow up all over the place and really distort facts for their own benefits. And we still see that. I know it's only been a week or so, but maybe a little more. I think it was the 11th. So almost a week. Well, it could have been the 12th, 11th or 12th. So we can see that it's only been a week. So obviously things are going to continue to spiral out of control. And I am here, as if you've watched my latest video, you know for a fact that I like to bring people back to baseline to just hit on just what I had noticed about the situation, trying to bring a little bit of analysis to it. Because I know if it were me, I wouldn't be here. One, but two, I would really want people to know what was going on versus speculating, lying, guessing, um, manipulating. I would hope someone would come out like me and tell you the physiology tied to the mannerisms that you noticed. So that's the reason why I wrote the blog or the article, and that's why I'm doing this video. So we will be going through we call it a forensic trauma sequence for a physiologic cascade timeline. With that said, I will start off with a disclaimer. I am not a medical professional, but I do have some working knowledge of basic anatomy, as most people should, in my opinion. I think that you should have this level of anatomy knowledge by 20. If you don't, I think it's a red flag for relationships. That's just me. That is just me. It it would save you on so much heartache if you had it. Anywho, and I can do some analysis. So we're gonna put that to work here. It is a hard topic. We're gonna be talking about some uh, traumatic pieces of the puzzle. So keep that in mind. If this video is for kids, it'd be labeled for kids. You're on my channel. So, well, you're getting to see kind of what my channel is about. And I'm not a YouTuber, obviously. I'd have pictures floating, I'd have noise. I would do a whole bunch of things to make you tweak out. Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to do that, to be honest with you. A lot of people do. I am not a YouTuber. I just happen to have a YouTube video or two. Hopefully, I get to lay to rest the factors of this trauma today for you. So we can move on and whatever pops up in the next few months, the next few years, say, "Ooh, look at this. Just found this out today. It's been a year since Charlie's death. You won't believe what I found." Go on and vomit out of your mouth. I'm not listening. To me, it is offensive to distort information and to just be negligent with words. I think it's professional to think before you say anything. I know for me, when it first happened, I first heard about it, I did my very best to stay neutral, to not have ideas, to not have theories, to not even believe that he died until I saw the video. But, then again, I had to look it up. I had to see if there were other video angles, and there were. Um, I'm not going to sit and watch a 3-4 second video and assume it's not AI because that takes a few extra seconds to analyze the video. So I'm not going to do that. But there were other views, and they were the exact same physiology. So I was like, okay, it lines up. So then I started breaking it down frame by frame. Been like, okay, so this is what's going on here. Instead of listening to everything that was around that time frame coming out, people saying, "Oh, he touched his neck." I'm like, let's see if he did. Let's see if he actually did. So you're gonna find that out here. And I have a reference today, a change of pace from the last video. But to know my working anatomy was in place. You can check my timestamp on the article. Well, maybe. September 12th, the forensic expert came out to do an interview with ABC 3340 or however you say that. Um, but I didn't see it then. I just saw it literally today. So the forensic expert I pulled up here is a distinguished scholar of applied forensics, Joseph Scott Morgan, Master of Forensic Science, and a fellow of the applied F-ABMBI. I feel like that's some sort of advanced murder investigator type stuff. That's just my guess. Anywho, let's roll. So the first thing that I read was that he got shot. Second one was that he grabbed his neck. Yeah, so most people wanted to be the first ones to come out with their revelation. It's not a revelation if you're wrong. It's ignorance, which is what I said. I took 2 days to analyze. Obviously, not 8-hour days. Probably a total of 4 or 5, not 4 or 5 hours. Same. It took about 3 hours just for me to compile the article. So I analyzed probably for 45 minutes the video from different angles. Uh, as I said, going frame by frame. Only 2 frames. We're going to get into that now. So, frame 1, round impact. The rifle round between 20 to 35-degree front to back. I say 20 to 35 if the bullet didn't go in and go right. Too sharp, which I didn't believe it did because it's just a human neck with a rifle round. And seeing the damage that it did initially with hitting the artery, I realized that it was between the 20 to 35-degree shot. On the left side, no, yeah, it was on this side. From you're looking at me, be on the left side. So here, it was right left near the Adam's apple. And I assumed naturally exited near the cervical spine or through the cervical spine. 4 physiologic responses in frame 1. First one, hydrostatic shock plus direct tissue disruption. That was the hit. And what it does to your skin and tissues and muscle. That's the beginning stage of the tissue disruption. Immediate arterial rupture. Spray. It wasn't a shooting, like if you had a small hole on something. Like if you like a doctor cut an artery or something in surgery, then it squirts because it's smaller. This is a bullet crushing through your neck, a much bigger rip. So it's going to go in other directions too. That's why it came out. I called it like a river. It's that's still an artery. What happened to the Ukrainian refugee was a jugular, and we'll get to that later. Exsanguination can occur in as little as 30 seconds without immediate pressure. lots of pressure. When you say pressure, say how do you slow or stop an arterial bleed or even a jugular bleed? What's the pressure? Well, it is preferred that you stuff things like a shirt, preferably gauze, clean gauze, in the hole. That's preferred. Stuff it, then press. Now, if you can't stuff it, yeah, just shove your fingers in there. Now we'll get to that later. That's not in frame one, but I just wanted to let you know the here. Exsanguination can occur in 30 seconds if there is no pressure. Arterial, little harder to control because the high pressure. Also in frame one, I said there's 4 physiologic responses. Third one is CNS disruption. That is brainstem, high cervical, spinal cord, and or baroreceptor reflex. The brain sends messages to the body that the throat has been impacted. The person's dominant hand rises involuntarily, which is what you saw. I'll put this down a little bit. So his hand comes up about here, maybe a little lower. So this is in frame one. The nervous system can fire a last incomplete reflex, especially if the brainstem or higher motor pathways are disrupted. It often looks like a reach or partial lift, which is consistent with witness reports. Aside from his voluntary movement, this is consistent with the atonic collapse, not a purposeful hand raise. Bullet compromises the cervical spinal cord, brainstem pathways. In a millisecond, the dominant hand pauses and freezes. No more brain to body motor communication. The sudden glaze in his eyes, loss of ocular focus in milliseconds is a strong indicator of catastrophic central nervous system or CNS disruption. Witness statement said eyes rolled back, lights out. So 2 different statements that people were saying. So, multiple people said he went lights out. Other people said his eyes rolled back. My hand's still here because we're still in frame one. Fourth response in frame one. Cardiac. The heart, one, loses blood preload pressure due to artery bleed. The artery goes up, sends oxygen to the brain. The jugular brings the oxygenated blood back down to the heart. So when that pressure is gone, whether going up or down or up, when that pressure is not going up because it's coming out, the heart can mess up. And 2, it can lose rhythm because the governor, CNS disruption, is no longer there. So the heart can beat by itself without the brain, but it doesn't keep all the time a regulatory rhythm. That's where the brain comes in. Frame 2. After the reflex frame, instant voluntary control muscle tone failure often means immediate loss of consciousness. Collapse. It's why those nearby perceived him as motionless and unresponsive within seconds. Body collapse. This separates this trauma from a cardiac arrest and why CPR cannot restore function. If his heart stopped, you could not restore the function because the CNS is not working. The brain and body are not communicating. Plus, you have to control the bleed before you do CPR anyways. Because if you're pushing, you're just pushing the blood out. So you have to control the bleeding first. Not the first thing, but that is the step right before CPR. First step is getting a person to safety, which he was at that point. He was in a safe place to perform life-saving procedures. I think that, in my opinion, I think that's the reason why you saw them just take him to the car. Part of the reason is, well, he needs medical attention immediately. But not saying they didn't stop the bleeding in those few seconds before they picked him up and got him out of there. I don't believe they did in those few seconds stop his bleeding. The second thing happened in the frame 2. Hydrostatic shock plus direct tissue disruption plus airway obstruction. A person passes out due to lack of oxygen to the brain. From the video circulating around social media, the observations you see occurred due to what is mentioned above, what I just talked about. So that was it. That was a kill show. 100%. I mean, that's just a given to anybody who knows anything about anatomy or analysis. It's all of those factors together. Well, like I said, first thing, stop the bleeding. You have to stop the bleeding first, and then you have to do CPR. However, you cannot do CPR if there's a spinal cord injury and the brain is not working with the body anymore. It, the heart's pumping. You can pump the heart, but there's still no oxygen going to the brain, and there's no brain messages going to the body. The brain is what kicks it back. When you're doing CPR on somebody, you're pumping the heart, but it's the brain. The brain's the regulatory governor. That's how you come back. If the CNS is disrupted, there's no coming back. I'm sure there are cases out there where people do have like not like a bullet through the spinal cord, but like an injury to the spinal cord where they just have paralysis. This was different. This was a complete, complete spinal cord disconnect. That's why the bullet did hit the artery and destroyed the CNS, the central nervous system. Took it out. Lucky shot. Lucky. Um, so, how does it happen? Well, an accident is how that happens. Before I get into the Ukrainian refugee, I have a few thoughts that I wanted to add to this as well, just to crush any sort of conspiracy that I do not believe. You will never convince me, as long as I'm alive, that a person that is close enough to be seen on 20 plus live feeds is feeding information. No. Mm-mm. Snipers, for example, you don't even have to be a sniper. Just having watched the right movies even could tell you that you, you use your environment to assess when to shoot. Like flags, the tent waving. There's a lot of things to use to make that shot. The last thing that you want is to be linked to somebody on a video. Now we're getting into some severe mental health diagnoses. Severe. If you are going to link yourself to somebody on a live feed, you are not thinking remotely in a sane trajectory. Just not happening. And even the people who are the ones signaling to you, that's the same thing on their end. You don't need it. Now, what you could have used is somebody with binoculars and you having an earpiece in, obviously them too, and they are assessing the situation from maybe a closer point because they just have binoculars that can be closer. But even if you use binoculars at a closer range, you're going to miss the wider perception. One, that's one issue with binoculars at a closer range. But at the same time, what is a person close to the other individual going to tell you that you don't already know? For example, Charlie sat up within 2 seconds was hit. That means the shooter was already squeezing his finger, getting that trigger nice and tight before Charlie's head was even up. That tells me he was trying to aim for a headshot. I think he hit a better spot than the head, to be honest with you. I think he hit a better spot, but it was lucky. You definitely are going to hit, you're definitely not going to hit that spot uh, again with any luck on your side. So you're never going to convince me that there was somebody within 30 feet of Charlie helping him out. You might believe it, but that's the difference between people like me and people like you. Also, I heard rumblings of a side shot from the dude that was right beside him. Woo! Dumb. Dumb. I just told you the artery on the left side was hit in the CNS. That doesn't happen from a shot going this way. You realize what would have happened is the bullet would have had to come in, go back, and then back forward to hit that artery. And what we you know what about here? No artery or jugular here was hit. It just went in, went back, and went back forward. No. Uh-uh. No. No, I'm sorry. That's not how life works. You better come up with something different. Like that guy wanted to get a nice, cool little picture. He visualized a awesome photograph picture of how Charlie was sitting right there that he could have got autographed. I do that. If I'm driving down the road and I see something that is $1 million shot, is what I call it, I will pull my car over on the shoulder to get that picture. You cannot judge another person by those 3, 4 seconds that you see them. Not, not at all can judge them. And plus, they're on live camera. Not only is there about 100 live feeds pointed at you, but there potentially was 100,000 people live watching you live. So you go, well, he wasn't acting normal. The only people who say that are people who don't go in front of cameras. Security team, they probably don't want a, a high profile type of job. Like, you have to be close to Charlie, and that's part of the security team. That doesn't mean they want to be Charlie. That doesn't mean they want to be him. So you can't judge somebody because they're in the vicinity and they're doing something weird. And also, there's a video about people doing hand signals. Are you telling me you got 4 people? Because that's what the whole thing was. There's 4 guys doing some weird hand stuff. 4 right beside them? Oh, you cannot be more silly. I hope to God you are not my kid's teacher in any situation. Even basket weaving. Goodness sake, I don't want you near my kids. You're so freaking weird. No. Absolutely no. No. But of course, he hated Charlie He's in a community that hates Charlie. Of course, he had people that he was talking to. That's common sense. Did people know he was going to do it? Maybe one. You go, well, his significant other got a letter. Just because you write a letter to your significant other about an action that you made does not mean that you're going to write in the letter in a way that they were in on it with you. Probably not in on it with you. Not a significant other. For sure. If you go from the family that the shooter was in to the community that you are now in, that means you are in cahoots with a lot of other people. At least 10. At least 10 people from that community who are influencing you. Those influences are what got him to the point of killing Charlie. Every single person who influenced the shooter should have a felony on their hands right now. Will the FBI go that deep? They should. It's their freaking job. Any person around a criminal that has projected, I don't say just influence, but if they influenced in the direction of violence, that's a criminal charge. That's tied to this case. Conspiracy to commit murder is a legit crime. And maybe one or two of those fall under that. So yes, I expect it. But will that happen in reality? We will see. Okay, so moving on from weird people. Ukrainian refugee. I said in the first video about her that I don't know how to pronounce her name. I'm not going to try. That's not the point. We're getting into her situation now. So, a knife instead of a gun. So, in her situation, we're not going to do frame by frame. It's not needed for this. CNS and cartoids were likely intact because he had a pocket knife, a fold-out pocket knife. So voluntary control, albeit not reasoned or rhymed, was present for 30 or so seconds before airway obstruction caused unconsciousness. Pause. Some can say that is not true. Well, let's get into it. Jugular vein hit, causing people to not see massive bleeding. Nobody would be sitting in their seats if you saw blood squirting. They'd be trying to get out of the way, jumping over her, or maybe even trying to help her. So I'll pause right there. You're sitting on a bus, minding your own dang business, like a good person, laying on your phone. And all of a sudden, you hear 3 punches. And you look up and you go, what? That sucks. You shouldn't have hit her like that. And that was rude. Did you see how high up her seat was and she was slouched? people behind her probably only saw this much of her head. Maybe that. Maybe that. And you go, well, they could have seen her fall over. You seen her head go over. She might have laid down to cry. If your first thought is, she bleeding out from the neck, it's not your first thought. That is not your first thought about what happens in front of you. If it is, again, let's get you some psychological assessments. I'm very curious. I would like to. I want to sit in on it. I'm very curious. I am curious to know what happens with you. Legit. I'm legitimately curious. Anyway, so I don't believe that junk about people behind her knowing what was going on. Jugular hits don't squirt. They flood. Airway. It doesn't, the jugular doesn't squirt out. It can't come out. It goes down in the body. Jugular, as I said, carries deoxygenized blood from the brain back down to the heart. The brain keeps obtaining oxygen through the arteries, and there's an airway obstruction, body collapse. The heart isn't getting blood, and the airway is body collapse within 5 seconds, as we saw in the video. Laying down adjusts the flow of blood in many different types of aspects. It reduces hydrostatic gradient, which can prolong voluntary movement for a few seconds. And hand movements could have been perceived as involuntary. Your jugular was just sliced. What, do people want you to high five? Give people handshakes? Get your phone out and start playing Angry Birds or something? Some Mario Kart? No, you have not seen somebody with a jugular cut in front of you. You probably want to know if it's voluntary or involuntarily, unless you have anatomy knowledge and analysis. Which is why I said it's actually quite important. You could have saved her life if you had that analysis. Most people don't. If you are a lethargic individual, you do not have a ton of aspirations, you're probably not that articulate and analytical. Because you don't keep pushing your brain. Think, go, 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 go. Always on the thinking. Your brain doesn't get that exercise. You want your brain to get that exercise, give it that exercise. There were noticeable differences. Her CNS was intact, so there was brain to body communication. I saw her fumble with her phone. You don't fumble with your phone involuntarily. Involuntarily would be like this. It wouldn't be grabbing something that you're looking at. You don't have that connection. You're looking at something, but you won't be grabbing what you're looking at. Not involuntarily, no. Your eyes might not even look voluntarily either if your CNS is disrupted. Yeah, when she was fumbling with her phone, I could tell she thought about trying to use it. From the way her body was, the way her hand was, it looked like she thought about trying, but maybe for reasons she was like, it's not going to happen. Or she's too focused on this, and she's like, I'm just going to focus on here, not on my phone. And then hypovolemic shock and hypoxia from no one helping. And then gone. Preventative care. With the Ukrainian refugee, North Carolina Good Samaritan law kicks in. And we have ourselves ample trauma response time. A beautiful amount of time to use, if anyone would have helped. I think everybody who saw her should get a felony. You don't have Good Samaritan laws for the fun of it. You should be forced to kick into action. I'm not saying that you knew what you were doing. Just the thought that, hey, I value freaking life. Generally, for me, meaning maybe I'd help them out because I would want somebody to help me. Generally. So I'm gonna try. I'll try something. That's all we're asking. Mhm. Okay. So steps again. One, get to safety. Two, control bleeding. With a jugular hit, have allergies. Military. Anywho. Within 2 minutes, you got roughly 2 minutes to try to do something. That's a lot more time than you had with Charlie. That's it's a lifetime more than you had with Charlie. A shirt, scarf for your fingers, shove it in that hole. Try to slow it down. Stop it. Get get that jugular and push on it. But you have some handicaps here. Gauze is best, but not at the expense of time in this case. For the jugular, the bleeding should slow by 10 to 20 seconds. Oh, in 10 or 20 seconds, the blood should slow. I don't know why, but it should slow by itself. So in those 10 or 20 seconds, that's when you just shove your fingers in there, shove something in there. Just make sure those 10 or 20 seconds you preserve as much blood as you can. Then if nobody's there to help you after that, and you notice the bleeding slowing, then you allow yourself time to open up some gauze. Or your shirt, take your shirt off, shove it in that hole. Don't press it up on the outside. Start shoving it in You want to push up against that vein, the jugular vein. You want to you want to put pressure on that. You want to clot it. You want to clot that area. Life saving. If you would have started clotting, she would have been here today. She would be here today. She would be here today if you were getting that to slow and start clotting. That's all you. It was a jugular vein. It wasn't an artery or CNS disruption. It was an artery. This video is going long, but get some good information here. So, also, the jugular vein will clot much faster than an artery, obviously. Obviously. It doesn't have that pressure. It just don't be silly now. Okay? Stay on point. If it's not a pressured hose, obviously you can get it to stop. Pressure, pressure. That's why the cut on your arm clots in 10 seconds. Mm, do not press on the outside of the neck. If you have to, fine. I'll take it. Just don't do that for me. Well, I'll take it. I'll take it. If you're that concerned about your fingers, I mean, you don't know. Maybe when you put your fingers in my neck, I bite them off. I don't know. I don't know. I can't actually tell you that won't happen. I can give you statistics. It hasn't happened 100% of the time yet. Pretty safe. Pretty safe in there. Pretty safe in here. Fine area to put your fingers. Get in there. Pushing on the outside. If you have mittens on, fine. Do it that. But I'd rather you take your mitten off and shove your mitten in that hole. I won't make any more comments. I had a few comments, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Okay, so if airway obstruction is severe, roll the casualty to one of their sides. And now they can breathe. Get the blood to drain outward, not down the trachea. Yeah, she should still be here with us today. She should still be here with us. All right, just going through that. Okay, we went through some of the myths. We know where the shooter came from. We know the entry. We know about the carotid sheath, arterial spray, the outcome. Okay, so yeah, that's all the thoughts I had. That's my whole blog. I will post the link in the blog. I am not going to put that blog on my website because the website is a nonprofit, has nothing to do with this. So it is I think it's a member only story. Yeah, it's a member only story. So you won't be able to read it unless you have a Medium account. But email me and I'll send it to you. I'll send you the PDF for it. With all the information that I talked about. So thanks for coming here. Really, really. I'm not saying thank you for YouTube's sake. I don't really care at all. This ain't my job. Thing. That's not my job. But I really am happy that you're here because I want this information out there. If it were me, I'd want somebody to know the true facts instead of I don't want any dumb stuff happening. I hope my death is actually not a mystery to some people. Or some people go their whole life and then talk to the kids about, oh, what a great guy I was. He died from a shot in the back. Just don't tell your kids I died at all. Okay? Just say he was a great guy. No longer with us. Prayers. Leave it. Stop talking about me after that. I don't know why you would do that to somebody. I don't know why you'd give your 2 cents if you were unsure about something. He did not touch his neck. He was a foot away from his neck. You're pushing all of these things out there that are not physically possible at all. He was shot from his right hand side. No, it wasn't. That was not an exit hole. That was so clearly not an exit hole. Exit holes don't look like that. Don't act like that. And you would have had blood spray somewhere over there, but there wasn't any blood spray. And you had seen a dark spot. Well, you might have seen a dark spot. With the Ukrainian refugee on the video, you did not see a dark spot on her neck anywhere. Could have been the, people can, it wasn't the angle because you saw from here to here with her. So I don't know why we didn't see a line of some color. That is, I've watched that video at least a dozen times, and I don't know why we didn't see a line, anything over the neck, nothing. It just looked all white, unbroken, and all of a sudden, well, she bled to death in a second, like a minute, done. Like by the time the Good Samaritans did come, it was too late at that point. Plus, oh, I do want to mention that. I do want to mention that. So, when she was slouched over in between the whatever you call, there might have been a seat in front of her. So we'll just say the back of the seat in front of her, in her seat. She was wedged in there, and so she fell. Her head and upper body went over. Her knee slid. So yes, her knees were down. She was up, slouched, head pinched, hand up. So she was pinched. The blood was slowing at that point because of how she was. The blood was, the body was really preserving it. But then you did see, blood come from up underneath the seat. But it took a while for you to see that, like 30, 45 seconds before you actually saw blood coming out from under the seat. You had some excellent time frame to work. Beautiful amount of time to work there. But nobody did. But my point was, and you had the Good Samaritan come pull her out of there. And then once you saw him grab her, pull her out, massive blood flow. I'm not saying that she was clotting when she was sitting there, slouched over, squished between the seats. There was a slim chance she was clotting. Should have assessed. I said, jump on the seat, dive in the seat, look over at her, put your hand down there, feel for pulse, check the pulse, check responsiveness. Okay, okay, check responsiveness. Hey. Okay, but then I would have made sure to keep that there. Well, basically, you want to know what's going on. But that's why you assess. Jump on the seat, assess, scan them, touch it. Hey, I see you. You're bleeding. I see where you're bleeding from. Can you talk to me? Can you talk to me where you're bleeding from? I don't want to move you and make it worse. I need to know where to put pressure. And if she can't talk, then you're going to have to get your fingers around there to figure out where the hole is. Or the holes. You find the worst spot. You would have found the jugular area, which it might have been the reason why you didn't see anything on the outside. Because when you stab, pull back out, the skin could have went back together. So you didn't see anything and the blood was just bleeding on the inside. Because it wasn't a slit. You're used to movies where the slit goes like this, obviously blood comes out, your skin's cut. But if it's a stab, you might not have any bleeding there at all. And it's not an artery. Okay, so I hope you learned from this. I hope you can take this information, save someone's life with this information. Share this video, share that article all over it. Let people see the facts. Oh, I almost forgot about my reference. Like I said, ABC 3340 shared uh, Jacksonville State University distinguished scholar of applied forensics. He mentioned the spinal cord. So there you have it. He mentioned the spinal cord from what he saw. Okay, so if you have an issue about the spinal cord, go talk to him. Anyways, take this information, save somebody's life, quit believing weird stuff about Charlie Kirk. Let his memory be awesome. Let him live great in your head. And stop believing weird stuff that doesn't exist. Did the shooter act by himself? He could have. There's a better chance of him working by himself than Charlie being shot from the right side. That's more believable than him being shot from the right side. You go, I believe he was working with somebody. Okay. Believe it with no evidence. You go, oh, there's evidence. I didn't see him with a rifle coming down. But coming down from the roof, I didn't see his rifle. But then his rifle was found in the woods. Goodness sake. Your analysis is. Woo. So, the video. You saw the video of him going down off the roof. How long was he up in that area before he came down? Did he go toward the ladder, throw the gun, then go back to get his bag, and then you saw him the second time? Is there evidence that points to you saying that? Might be no evidence at all. Because now we're talking 45 seconds to 1 minute before him going down. You would have had to been seeing him. I don't think that video is there. So there is absolutely zero evidence of him not, or of him leaving the gun up there. No evidence that he left the gun up there. Maybe he went back up. You know, I saw him leave. I saw him go down off the roof. Did you see him go back up? Video cut. So why are you talking? Why are you speaking anything? Could have went back up 5 times. You don't know. I don't know either. That's why I don't say anything. I don't have a thought of whether he's by himself, what happened to the gun. The gun made it to where they found it. It didn't fly. Could have been him. I know it could have been him. Could have been somebody else. Yes, he could have threw the gun down, or somebody else could have came back up after him. There's so many situations of where somebody could have helped him. Or not. Nobody could have helped him. You could just be a conspiracy theorist. Maybe you're turning into one. Mm. The killer gets the death penalty. You're gonna swear you see his ghost. I go, "Ooh, I've been seeing him around." You know what? You probably are. It's, you probably are. Anyways, so take the information, save somebody's life. Get your first aid, CPR, AED, certificate, do some great work. Get a medical bag. I'm going to show you a medical bag to get. I'm going to show you the medical bag to get. So, this. I might do a video on it. Vitat, a tactical aid company. This is a beautiful, a beautiful trauma kit. I'll break it down in another video if anybody cares. So awesome. So beautiful. Amazing. Love it. Then, in addition to this, get the choking device. You put it over the mouth and get the choking device. I forgot what company that is, but on my Instagram, I shared the company, and you can go there and get one. And then I also recommend you shoving in here somewhere where we can find some space. Narcan. Get some Narcan. Right after this, I'm going to shoot a real quick first aid video. Stick around.